another thing on the practice, it mentioned that there were 3 types of p orbitals. You have the py, the pz, and the px, which are just the different axes.
Exactly. That's all it's trying to say, and it's arbitrary. You know, you're going to put one into the x, one into the y, one into the z, and then you're going to pair up the x, you pair up the y, and you pair up the z, as you get more and more electrons in that level. It's just trying to give you a spatial orientation for the bow tie formation that this thing has got.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get 2 bubbles that basically they all kind of come together, like the guy in the restaurant that does the clown tricks with the balloons and makes animals out of them. You know how they twist those things and they close them down at that pinch point in the center, and that's actually representing an area where the electrons never go. They're basically keeping themselves to these bubbles outside in the 3 dimensions.
In a p orbital, you're going to have what, 6 electrons, right?
Right.
So is it 3 in one cloud and 3 in the other, or is that just the shape they're going into?
No, what you've got is you've got 3 bow ties, basically, right? And each bow tie has 2 electrons in it. And so the probability distribution would say that the darkest part of the cloud of the pi of the piece of orbitals will be the larger part of the bubble at the end of each of the bow ties. So
do they, for one, let's say for one energy level, like the second period with boron, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, like, so those orbitals are all there together at the same time for the p orbital, you'd say.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. So is that sulfur and nitrogen, and then sulfur and
iodine? I think
iodine has 7 valence electrons.
Right.
5, 6, 7, and sulfur has
6, I think.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. 6. So you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, yeah, it doesn't look like there would be a great way to make these bond together covalently. For me, the biggest thing that I was having issues with was the octet rule, and like just trying to console in my mind that there's not actually 8 electrons on the outside of the atom, and that,
it's a majority of cases the octet rule explains everything perfectly. There are other compounds that get formed sometimes when you get 5 atoms sitting around the central one, which means if you've got 5 bonds, there's 10 electrons around the central atom. You got some of them that have 6 around the central atom. And it's just, in some circumstances, the central atom becomes the victim, and it's got to take on more than the typical 8 electrons in an octet, whereas the periphery elements that are out on the periphery of the molecule, they can satisfy themselves with the octet, but they force the extra electrons into the center.